Hi folks, in this video I'll continue demonstrating how to create a Django application. So in the last video we started the application which we had created using our Python environment. So in this video we're going to actually update our app to have a resource, in our case a greetings resource, and just go through the process of the very common features of creating, reading, updating, and deleting a resource. So the CRUD operations. So if we're to navigate to our course website, continuing with our tutorial, these are the same 4 steps. We're on this last step here. So we created a Python environment, we created a new application, we're able to see the application, we're able to see the splash page, and now let's create our first resource. Okay, the Django application, Django tutorials go through creating a question and choice. For us, we're going to create a simpler greetings resource. So Django provides a command line to kind of start what they call an app. So Django has this idea of a project, and within a project you can have apps. So for us, we're using greetings resource, treating greeting resource as an app. Might be a bit overkill, but if we're trying to do more of the microservices and services type ideas, separating the resource into its own folder and possibly an app might not be a bad idea. So let's drop into our container. And then use our Django command line tool to start an app called greetings. And you notice I created a folder. Every app kind of have a model for storing data, view. In Django, views are kind of like the controllers in a normal MVC. And then Django also provides an admin interface for you to use, which we haven't done that yet, but that's a good way of verifying certain things. Okay. So we created just some basic structure of our new app. So let's just wire things up to see our first view. So we go to our project, my site, and go to the URLs file. We can add in a path that'll take us to the greetings resource or app in Django's terminology. Here you can see Django also wired up our admin interface. So I guess we should take a look at that. Post 8,000. You should see see our splash page, and we go to admin. You'll see the administrative backend login page that Django provided for us. Okay. So that's the URL and takes us to the admin. So now let's create our path. Have Django recognize the greetings path and then forward those HTTP requests to our greetings application, and we're going to define a file in there for URLs to handle the requests. So here you notice that include that we used is not defined, so we'll need to include that, and we'll include it from our Django URLs package. So now it'll complain that we haven't created the URLs for the file in our greetings folder. So let's do that step. Create a new file, URLs, and there's many ways of kind of organizing a Django app. This is just one way. That's just my preference. You could just easily combine everything in one URLs folder file, but I figured this way, if you ever need to move the greetings, everything's encapsulated in one folder to make it a little easier. So this is just my preference. There's just many ways of doing this. You don't have to do it this way. Okay, so in our greetings URLs, what we're going to try to do is at the root of greetings path, so essentially greetings, we're going to try to forward the request to the index view. In other frameworks, that's called controller, and this is the controller action. So in order to do that, we need to import from the URLs package, import the path function, and then from the current folder, so within this greetings folder, we're going to import the views. So this views file here, and then we'll define URL patterns that this site will include. I mean, this line will use. There's a lot of magic that Django takes care of, and I'm not particularly familiar with. But reading through the docs, this is what they recommend. So I'm just gonna go with it until we need to troubleshoot it. So we'll name this action index and provide the same, I guess, function name, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay. So do this. I'm not sure I picked it up. So start the app again. So here is looking into that module, greetings.views, and it can't find the index attribute or display function. So let's add it. We're going to add the index function to handle the request. And then, so whenever we visit greetings, we're gonna handle that request in this function here. So let's we'll return an HTTP response and just say hello world. Index. So it looked like it picked up that change. Let's refresh. Error out because once again HTTP response is not defined, though we try to use it here. But you can see that the server is running development mode. It'll print out the error that your server's encountering. So of course you don't want to do this in production. You don't want anyone knowing what's going on in your app. But this server that we're running is the development server, so it's not meant to handle external traffic. So to fix it, we'll just include HTTP response from a class, looks like. And now it looks like it might be ready. So we go to this URL and our application responds with this string. That's our HTTP response. So that's our first view. Now would be a good time to commit our code, but I'm not going to do that here to save on time. So the next thing is kind of wiring up a model in a database. You know, this string is nice that we're returning it, but it's not very useful, and it's not really HTML. So it's just a text string. So let's do that. Let's go to let's create a model, and we're going to have this one greetings model, and it'll have one attribute called message, and eventually that'll translate to one table in our database with one column for message. Okay, so let's do that now. Class called greeting. They'll inherit from Django's model class, and in it we'll define an attribute that uses again Django's model, and I think Django requires us to define a maximum length for this field. Okay, so now we have a model, but that's just in our code. We kind of need our database, which right now is this file right here. Django ships with a SQLite database, which is great for development. Definitely don't want to use this in production. And eventually we'll be switching to a Postgres or PostgreSQL database. But for now, it'll work. But we want to ensure that the database has the database table and column that matches our model. So in order to do that, we'll migrate our database. And Django has a feature that makes migrations based off of the model. So you define the model, what you want to capture in code, the data you want to capture in code, and then you create a migration to back up that code. So a table we created that will back up this class, and a column will be created to back up this attribute. And Django provides a command line tool to do that. So once I run this, we should see a migration file generated. So make the migration of greetings, and then I need to link this up so then Django knows where to find the app migration. So let's do that. And if you don't, you have an error. So settings. So inside the project My Site, under settings, and there should be an installed app somewhere here in the middle, and we'll install our greetings app. And yeah, so now if we run the migration command, it's able to find our app, find our model, and then based on the model generate a migration folder, a file. So when you look at this, you'll see that it's going to create a table, name greeting, it's going to give it a primary key, and then also a column named message. So if we were to ever update this, add extra attributes, we'll have to make migrations again. And the next migration file would be adding an attribute, because if you can imagine, if your app is already in production and there's already data in your database, you want to just add a column and not like blow out the entire table. But if you're not in production yet, you can delete this file and then just create a new initial, as long as you don't have a database in production. As long as you're okay with blowing away the entire database. Because if not, then you want to make sure you have sequential migration files that will apply changes to a database in a way that won't screw up your users. Okay, so we did that. That's what our migration file looks like. So we generated the file, but this database hasn't been migrated. We need to apply the changes defined in this file and apply it to our database. So to do that, we'll run this command that Django provides us. And it actually did something to the SQLite file. Okay. So here is the greetings migration that we defined, and it's been applied. Okay. So now we have a database with a database table and a column that backs up our model. So now we can actually create a view to allow users to install, add greetings to our table, to our application. So let's do that. Let's go back to our view file. Everything seems to be linking correctly. So in our view file, we're going to give it a template so it knows how to generate the HTML to give back to the user's browser. And we'll give it some data, and to get that data, we'll tell it to look into our database and just get all the rows in our table, which each row corresponds to a greeting, so all the objects in our app, in our greetings resource. Okay, so let's do that. So, yeah, type it out. Just to be more specific. Okay, we're gonna declare our template for this action to be a file that we have not created yet. And then also tell it to merge this list of data into that template. So give it a list of greetings, and then we'll also tell it to use this query set that Django provides to basically return all the things. So that's a typo there. And then we'll be using our model to reach into our database and get all of the objects which correspond to rows in our database table, and return that as our list of greetings. And if we were to do this, we should error out because our model isn't defined. So we need to define it up here. So from the current folder in the models module, which is our models file. Import our greeting class. So now we're going to do this. We'll find our class, but we have another error. So I think this is related to us not having a view template. We'll find out. So let's create a template folder. And I don't know if this is a Django convention or something I made up. Not sure. And in it, but because there's I don't see us configuring the templates folder anywhere, I'm guessing it's a Django convention, but that could be. So create a greetings, greetings folder. Let's do a greetings folder. And then this new file index HTML. I feel like templates is something that is conventional to Django. And then index, this subfolder greetings and index is something that I just threw in there. This might be unnecessary, but maybe just from prior experience I decided to do that. Okay, so now that we have this file, let's see if we can turn it back. Okay. I feel like some other error somewhere. That's right. Using a class now. Okay. So the function, using index function, was quick and easy. But now that we are using these templates and models, it is, I think, better to transition to using a class. So let's fix that up. Index view, let's say generic list view. Okay, that makes sense. And then we'll need to import generic. And we don't need these packages anymore. Django views, import generic. This view. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to make it a class. Alright, so because we changed this to a class, our URL is now complaining. So we need to change it to this syntax. This is the MySite projects URL. We need to actually fix it in the app, greetings app URL. So it's no longer just a simple index function. There's a class, and then we need to call a method on that class. Here we import the view, so that looks right. Also the error went away. And then we're done. To refresh, we'll see our index. But of course, again, that's not much better than a string, though it is HTML. So it's slightly better. But let's actually show our data. So this is our data, and we're going to update our view. Our template. Most frameworks call this template the actual view of the MVC, the view. Okay, so like all frameworks and templating things, they allow you this operator that says execute code and fill in this bit with the results of the code, and then intermix. There's a way to intermix HTML and code. So we're going to say if greetings list exist, print out this stuff, and then if it doesn't exist, print out this stuff, and then we need to end the if here. So that's what we're gonna try to do. So that works. So the greetings list, we haven't had any data, so it comes up empty, and that's why we're showing that. But instead of strings, we're gonna put in real HTML text. So no greetings are available. And then if there were, let's just see this first. So here our actual Python is, the actual HTML is being sent. And just for curiosity, I think this is just text. There's no tags. Okay, let's throw tags back. So let's go to our admin interface and actually add some data. There's a way to do it through command line, but I don't have that set up. So I don't think there's a default user. So one way to do it in the cleanup section of this tutorial is to create a script, so when we do our Docker compose build and things, we can automate it. But just for now, we'll add a admin user by hand. So we're gonna use this command to kind of add an admin user with a password of admin. So we then go back here and type in admin. We're able to log in, and we don't see our greetings here yet. We need to add a setting in about files. So I think this here. Okay, so we need to register our resource to the admin, the Django admin app. Wow, this is new. So we can register like this. In the previous code, I just did something like this. Okay, so I'm gonna actually put it here. That's how I did it before. And this file was created, so I kind of think that it's still supported. And then let's do that. We'll include from this current package or folder. Use the models module or file and import from that file greeting class, and we'll register it, this greeting class, to our admin app. And then if we were to refresh, we should see our greetings, and of course it's empty right now. So this is the admin interface, but it's kind of like a backend, a backdoor. We're not going to expose this to our end users, but just to see our template with some data, how it reacts with some data without actually building the create action yet. This is an easier way. Made from admin interface. So let's do that. Here you'll see it's created, and then so that's in our. This kind of lists out what's in our database table. So if we were to then refresh. Oh, I'm surprised it's still showing this. So for some reason, it is still thinking there's no greetings. Let's print out what this is and see if we can figure this out. So refresh. So this is not getting picked up. We might have to restart our app container. And this is another way of doing it aside from canceling and then starting doing another Docker compose out. So it's actually starting, but because there's no other apps running, this process dies. But if we were to do Docker compose up, we should see our terminal attached to the container again. Okay, so the other thing about using Django in containers is we need to flush our logs. Even though it's printing out something, it might be getting cached. So do something like this. for troubleshooting. We wouldn't do this and leave it in the code. Enforce this down. Flush. Okay, here it flushed out. So I was able to find it. So what did I miss? This. I'm maybe supposed to. Let's see, what did I do? Got a typo. What's this? Oh, reading list. Oops. Maybe I should copy this. Okay, so here we go. Readings are available. But at least I was able to demonstrate some troubleshooting techniques, so hopefully that's helpful. Alright, so we'll return this as greeting list, and then the view perhaps greeting this, and we'll display it if it exists, or if it'll display this if it's not. But we actually want to display our list of greetings. So let's do that here. So that's our tutorial. Here's our view. Migration. So now we want to actually go through each greeting in the list and print it out. So this is an unordered list based on what you know from HTML. And within this unordered list, we're going to loop through. So this is Python code here, right? Loop through the things between the curly brackets and the % sign is Python code. Any Python code will work in here. So loop through the greeting list. And then generate kind of modified Python, I guess, because you don't need this N4. Okay, and so looking through all the greetings in the greeting list array for each object, greeting object within the greeting list, you're gonna create this HTML item, and then you'll notice now that it's not curly braces %, but it's curly braces. So this will actually print it out. So we'll print out each greeting object's message. So this message is the one that's defined here. So any attribute of this object, you can access it this way. So now if we were to refresh, the greeting we made earlier shows up. mirror to drill into it. You'll see that that's our greeting.message wrapped inside of this item. And if we wanted to this, I want to add another one. So this admin interface is saving to the same database file here, which eventually will be a Postgres database, and there will be a network connection, and you won't actually see the file. But for now, it's there. So this database file gets updated, and then this application interface that we're actually customizing, building, reads from the same database. So there you go. You see this item that we created. And just a note on this little database file. If we go to the My Site project folder and look at the settings, there's a database setting, and in it is calling the SQLite and giving it the file name. And eventually we're going to replace this with network settings to get to our PostgreSQL database. Okay, so right now the admin interface loading to this database file, and then using our controller or view and template, we are able to read that data back and then present it to our end users here. Okay, so we have our index, our basically read action working. We're just gonna pretty much apply the same concepts, but for our create, update, and delete functionality. So let's do that. Okay, so we have a new. So we don't need this one. Models is good. Admin interface is good. So again, here will be a good time to commit your code. So any new changes for the new setting will be, if something breaks, you can always roll back to this working state. So let's do that. Where are we? Go to the URL. And let's add a path. We're gonna add this new URL after, so it'll be greeting/new, and in our views we'll add a create view class that we'll route this to, and we'll name this action create. Okay, so we need a comma there as well. So here is complaining there's no create view, so we'll go to our view, and then we'll actually create our create class here. So create view, generic, edit. It'll inherit from this create view that Django provides us. We'll specify the template name that we'll have to create later. So we'll name our template create HTML, and this time we need to specify a model. that we're creating, and then the fields of that model that we want to form for. And if it's a success, if it successfully creates, if the user submits the form and we successfully create a new greeting, then we're going to redirect that user to another page, and we're going to, instead of hard coding a URL, we're going to reverse lookup a greetings index view based on what we've defined in our urls.py. So there's that one. And then we're going to have to import our reverse lazy, since we didn't use that function yet. Okay, so let's import that from Django URLs. We're basically saying, find us the URL that corresponds to the index section of our greetings app or resource. Okay, so now if we go to new, we need to create our template that we specified here. So let's create a new file, create HTML, and in it, we'll tell Django to create a form. This is an API or something that Django provides for us, so we don't have to like add text fields and forms. But if you ever wanted to, you can manually create it. Form is a HTML element, and we need to tell it that we're going to post. And here, telling Django to protect from cross-site reference token is a way to ensure that someone's not hacking. You can read up on that. It escapes my mind right now. Normally these frameworks provided for you, so always try to use that token. It just ensures that the posting request is valid. Okay, and lastly, we need a button to submit. And then we're going to give that button a label of save. Okay, and now we refresh. Template does not exist. It created in the wrong folder, so let's drag it in to the right folder. And Harris is able to find it. So made from user interface. Oh, it wasn't able to find our greetings. One of us is greeting. Okay, so the redirection after success is broken. But let's see if it created it. So here we were able to create it. So let's see why this didn't work. If we go to our URLs, greetings is not a registered namespace. Oh, here, we need to provided a namespace. So in our URLs file, we need to say that all these routes belongs to the app name greetings. So now if we were to go to new, another greeting from what interface, when we hit save, it'll redirect us to the index. Okay, so that's the create action. Now let's also add a link to our create to make it a little bit easier for our users. So here we're gonna insert a link, and again, instead of hard coding the URL, we'll use some Python code to generate that using Django's URL construct, and then we'll just name this link, give this link a name. Okay, so in here we're going to use this URL function and say we want this to link to the create action of the greetings controller or app. Okay, so here if we refresh, we should be able to get to our new URL this way. And then now we're just going to clean up by adding our update and delete action. I guess ideally you want a cancel button that will go back to the list, but that's skipped here. Okay, so again, we'll start in the routes, or a lot of frameworks call it the routes. We'll call it, Django calls it the URL file. So here, when we update a greeting, we also need to provide it with a primary key so we know which greeting is updating. So then we need an update class to handle this new action, and then we'll give it the name update. And similarly in delete, if we're going to delete a greeting, we need to know which greeting we're deleting. So we're going to use the primary key or the ID of the greeting so that our app knows which one to delete. And also that's the easiest way to kind of map an action to the ID or primary key of a greeting, of a row in your database table. So those would work. And then we need to create our views here. So this is lots of type, so I'm gonna copy it in and explain it. So we're creating two classes for our update and delete action. We'll specify our template names, because this is a default, so we're overriding that. And they all need to know which model we're using and the fields involved. So again, once it's successful, we're going to redirect to our index page. Okay, so that's our views. Most frameworks call it the controller. And then we need our template, which most frameworks call the view. Okay. So we need a update HTML, and we also need a delete HTML, and make sure it's in the right folder. Okay, so in the update, we don't need index, HTML, or URL anymore. Don't forget to save. So in the update, it's going to be a form similar to our create form. This time we're just going to change the name of the button to update instead of save. And then, so post is again, it's an HTTP verb. So HTTP verbs has some meaning to it. So it's a get, which is normally getting information. Post is posting information. And then there's put and patch. And that's kind of like normally the updates. Not sure why I couldn't get put and patch to work for Django, or I didn't have time to. And so we're just using post here. And then there's also a HTTP verb delete. So this tells your browser when it's sending this form which HTTP method to use. And then lastly, we added a delete action here, and we'll instead of just generating the link with, like we've seen this, where it's just the control action or view action in Django terminology. We're also providing an ID because, again, we need to know which greeting we're deleting. So that's the update. And then let's do the delete. So another form. Again, we're using the post HTTP method. And then there's no text fields to update or add. So we're just gonna have a message here, and then we'll list out the greetings message, and then the button will say confirm. Okay, now I think, we need to add links to these pages in our index. So instead of just listing the message, we're going to add in links. I'm not sure why we need a span here. We'll see what we need it. Links to update the greeting. And again, we're passing it the ID. And also links to delete the greeting. And I think that should do it. So refresh. So here's the edit and delete. And let's just see if we can. Yeah, we don't need the spans. But if we wanted to style it differently, the spans would be useful. All right, so we want to edit this. And then update. You'll see it. Let's make it a little more clear. Oh, we should. Sorry about that. Okay. And then if we wanted to delete this one, give us the message, we'll confirm it, and now it's gone. And we can also add a new one. user. Okay, so there's that. And then I guess we can delete it here and all kind of links. So that wraps up our demonstration of creating a Django application. From here on out, it's just adding more views and templates and features and models. But here is a good starting point for any application. Uh, it's just adding more resources to it. But hopefully it's covered 80% of what's necessary in building a Django app. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what y'all can build with this. Okay, have fun and good luck.